Rod Duff, your host.
And I'm producer Barbie.
And together,
we bring you our podcast,
Insights and Straight Talk. And with that, producer Barbie and I are out. Woo! All right. Whoa, I just heard a sound go out. I'm really looking forward to today's discussion. I was just talking with Donovan in the back there. We were talking about a couple of things, and this goes within the theme of what we do, meaning how to empower, how to bring information, how to gain financial ground, all sorts of things. We'll get back into that in a second. Before I do want to. By the way, this is Insights and Straight Talk. I'm your host, Rod Duff. If you're here, you already know that, but just wanted to throw it back out there one more time. We're at the Margaret Carter Public Library here in Mangum, Oklahoma. As you guys know, at least most of the people coming on. Hold on, let me shut down. Let me see if anybody's on yet. Okay, we got a lone soul out there, a lone soldier so far. Appreciate you being here, but I want to give a special thanks and a special shout out, which I'll start doing now, to our sponsor here in Mangum for the library. The public library here is as you can see in the back, is got a lot of things going on, and it ties in so perfectly with our renewal, our regeneration school program, and the talk around the table, the teens empowerment program. And we've been talking a lot with a couple of different people around the location, as you guys know. And there's some real excitement because, I mean, in my other studio, I can't really bring people in. So this is a public location. I'm actually in the game room where a lot of kids obviously are excited to have the access to. I mean, if you look behind me, there's probably, I actually haven't even counted, but there's probably 30 monitors back here. There's a virtual game, you know, the old Wii games where you live in a virtual world and play games and do exercises. We've got a whole snack section over here in the administration people, and then, you know, this is a 3-story building, so it's pretty exciting. We'll get into all those things as we go along, but I want to start. Looks like we got about 30 people coming in. Very good. Today's one of those topics that are important to the show. Well, all the topics are important to the show, but one of them meaning we're kind of diving a little bit into to finance and health and things here. We've got a whistleblower on the green room. Oh, I forgot to tell you, by the way, Donovan, as we were going through the instructions there at the end, I threw him in the green room. As you all know, I can't physically do any of that because most of these people are bigger than I am. So even if I wanted to try and do that, it wouldn't really work out well for me. But I forgot to tell you, Donovan, you can have anything in there in the green room. It's there for you. It's snacks. You know, it's all yours, except you can't eat the green colored, chocolate covered M&M peanuts. With that, I'll welcome you aboard and and say, how are you this fine and beautiful day? As we talked about, I'd like you to go back and talk about the journey that got you to the journey. But did I miss anything? And by the way, I didn't ask you. I'm terrible with names, but I think Pyle, is that right?
Correct. That's my last name. Yeah.
Excellent. And Donovan, I said correct. By the way, I love that name. That's an awesome name.
Well, I was named after the singer from the 60s, Sunshine Superman.
Talk to me.
Oh yeah, Sunshine Superman. You know, my parents are old hippies, so Donovan, you know, was pretty famous back in the day, and you know, a lot of people don't know this, but he actually helped the Beatles write some of their best songs.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they
were
buddies.
Kidding.
They were friends back in the day, and since Donovan was a bit older than John and Paul, he was kind of a mentor to the Beatles, and so they leaned on him for songwriting advice. And you know, he had a little influence on some of that history. Pretty cool.
That's huge. And I come from a musical background, and so every time there's things that just circle around you, and it really is And that kind of tip, I had no idea. And look at, I'm meeting you. You're connected to the Beatles, man. I should be pointing up here. My screen's down here. You're connected to the Beatles, huh?
Yeah. So, I mean, clearly I had no choice but to become a musician, which I am. And I've been playing music professionally since 1995. And as you know, back then, there were some magical times back then, for sure.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. What do you play?
So I started off playing drums, and funny enough, growing up in upstate New York, where the Grateful Dead, had some of their best shows was in upstate New York. They were famous for having really good shows in upstate New York, and so I actually joined a Grateful Dead cover band the year after Jerry died in 1995. And so I was playing with, a bunch of guys.
Hold on. That was a sad day. I remember that day when it was like there could never be again. I mean, cover bands, absolutely. Music doesn't die, but that was a sad day.
It really was. And I wasn't really aware of the, the cultural influence that Jerry had. So it was really just an amazing experience as a teenager to be playing with these guys who were, twice or three times my age, and learning from them and learning about, these are guys that had been on tour with the Dead, for years as fans. So it was really, really fascinating to learn from those guys.
Yeah, and you picked up a whole hell of a lot of that. Now, how long did you do that? You're still playing around, but how long did you do that? You never stop, right? I mean, drums. Maybe you're not doing that in your kitchen or anything, right?
Well, I've got a couple of drum sets sitting in front of me, actually. But
do you really?
Oh yeah. I actually, I keep a drum set in my office so that I can take a break from the day's tasks and just let out a little energy, maybe a little stress. So it's been fantastic. How about you? Do you play?
I sing. I used to.
Nice.
My mom owns a company called, she's passed and it's going through some things, but Fullerton Music Center's out in Fullerton, California. And Van Halen used to come in there, the brothers, and just hang out with my mom after hours and all that. The Fender studio, the Fender Museum was built across the street from my mom's store.
Wow.
The guys from was that Oak Street? Not Oak Street. God, I always forget their name. They're big right now. They've been big for a while. What's the famous beach in Chicago area? I'll remember it later. Anyway, I've been around a lot of really good music and musicians and some people that my ex is, their whole family's musical. And so, I have a special place in my heart. I've never done any touring or any of that, but I've done, I do it for myself. I write, I do poetry, and I write lyrics. And so it's a great thing to have music in your life, man. And the drums, really, man, the heat, the beat, you feel it. It's literally a frequency, right? All the instruments, music, but that bass, that tone, that thump is. Oh my God, I am way behind. We're already at about a half a dozen questions. Why don't we get your story going a little bit more? Do a little anything I missed in the introduction. I was blindsided, but I was going to tell you, I was really looking forward to this because some of the things you're talking about in the brokerage area, where people are starting to play games and numbers change. I've dealt with that. I had a machinery business, which I wound down a year and a half ago or so. We got 39 people. What was my point? I dealt with the all of these things that you're talking about. We had 30 employees before we started to wind down. We were at 5 million. Started, that next jump is 12 million. Just too much issues, too much stuff. Not enough of this. So my favorite part of the business was the marketing and the advertising and I used to do an insight show where I'd advertise industry leaders. so that it was a marketing thing for the business, because we built machinery for the plastics, chemical plastics in the food industry. So I've been looking forward to this. And then we just had that little moment of music there, and I was like, whoa. And then dude, this is going to be a fun time, man. This is going to be a fun time. So set it off, get us going, get us professional. Talk to us about what you're doing for a little bit, and then I'll start poking these questions in. Do you want me to put them on screen for you to read? Do you want me to read them? Oh, Paula's been coming on a little bit lately. So what's best for you, Donovan?
If you could read them, that'd be fantastic. Because honestly, I can't even see I can hardly see the screen.
Beautiful. I love doing that. All right. Anything that I missed? Do you want to recover, and then we'll start getting into a little bit of the questions here? Usually questions don't even start to from experience. We've done in the last year, I started this a year ago, September 17th. We've done 340 shows. And so it's growing. We're about almost 10,000 subscribers now. By the way, everybody, when you come on, subscribe. And Donovan, would you subscribe to you and at least like your own show? Is that fair? Is that fair to ask? Put a thumbs up on your own show. So we're starting to get into here, but was there anything I missed?
Well, maybe I'll just brief introduction for myself, so everyone has a little bit of context here. So after playing music professionally in Manhattan for 10 years, I switched careers. I played. If you were watching TV back in the mid 2000s, you definitely heard me play on commercials for HBO, Chevy, Nike, Motorola. Remember Motorola? Remember that sound?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, that's you.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of there was a lot of commercials that they came out with back in those days.
You're talking about the commercials. Got it.
Yeah, so I was playing drums on those commercials. So that was just an amazing experience. And I ultimately ended up touring with the band for a few years nationally. We got signed to EMI. EMI went bankrupt, and our first album never even got released. Total disaster. At that time, I was 31 years old. I said, this has been a great run, but I want like the opposite life experience. You know what I mean? Like, after going to bed. Yes, exactly. Like after going to bed at 6 a.m. for years on end, you kind of want something different and a little bit of stability.
And in different places, right? It's not, you're not just waking up, you're not just going to bed at 6 a.m. But I assume you were traveling, you said at the end, right? You're going to bed at 6 a.m. in this place, and then that place, and then that place, and then that, and eventually getting home every once in a while.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it turns out that, living in a van with 4 guys in your 30s isn't really the best thing to do.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, there's just, eventually you kind of want a bed.
Okay.
A little bit of normalcy. So I was just kind of burned out, and I said, what's the most opposite life experience I could have? And so I moved from Manhattan down to Orlando, and I managed to convince a multinational insurer by the name of Chubb to hire me in 2012. You still there, Rod?
Remember I told you I was going to jump off every now and then?
Yes.
To read the question. Sorry, I'm here. I'm listening.
Okay.
I can hear you. You can't see me. I can see you, but I will jump on at a moment where it makes sense.
Great. So just to keep it brief, so I ended up working for this multinational insurer, and benefits brokers were my customers, right? So I would sell my company's disability products, for example, through benefits brokers. Benefits brokers would work with employers and recommend products to them and sell them our products. So they were our biggest distribution partner. Towards the end of my tenure at that carrier, I was taking these brokers on all-inclusive vacations around the world. It was a pretty good gig, but honestly, I was getting kind of bored. And one thing I noticed was, forgive me, a lot of people don't really understand this whole industry. So let me just level set even further. U.S. employers cover about 164 million Americans with healthcare benefits. And in 2024, employers spent...
Wait. Hold on. Say that again.
Sure. U.S. businesses cover 164 million Americans with healthcare benefits.
Okay. So that's about a third. No, it's a little bit more than a third. It's about half.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I thought we were about 350 now, but okay.
Yeah,
so
maybe we are.
About half is by insurance. I mean, by coverage through your work, and then the other half would be like what? Does that include government insurance?
No. Yeah. So
okay.
Yeah, the
That's
remainder of the population is on Medicare, Medicaid, or on individual products. Yep.
Gotcha. Okay, go ahead.
So in 2024, employers spent $1.3 trillion to cover those 164 million Americans. And so one thing I noticed when, I'd be going to these open enrollment meetings with brokers who again, were my customers. They were our distribution partners. And I kept on hearing over and over again from executives at these companies, from employees at these companies, healthcare costs, the increasing price of health insurance and healthcare was just really frustrating for these businesses. And, being that I'd been living in Orlando for a while, we have a gentleman here by the name of Harris Rosen, who unfortunately passed last year. But he bootstrapped a company called Rosen Hotels in 1974. In 1990, he got really fed up with the legacy health insurance and brokerage model. He fired his broker. He fired his health insurance. That's still around. Go ahead.
That's still around. The Rosen Hotels are still around. There's a beautiful one in Chicago.
I didn't know.
Is that the same Rosen?
I don't know if that is the same one. I know he's got several here in Central Florida. But if you've ever been to a conference here in Central Florida, there is a good chance that you've stayed at one of his hotels.
Orange County, Florida. Is that still the area? The Orange County Convention Center. That's further north, isn't it?
No, Orange County Convention Center is south of Orlando, but you're exactly right. I mean, it's the second largest convention center in the country, falling behind Chicago's. So there, a lot of people have been to his establishment. But the reason I bring him up is that in 1990 he got fed up with the traditional way of doing things, and he started contracting directly with physicians and local hospitals, and really pioneering different ways to finance and procure healthcare for his employees. And I'll wrap up the story really quick. Over the next 30 years, he saved his business over $500 million on healthcare by improving care and coverage for his employees. And
$500 million?
$500 million over 30 years.
Wow. That's amazing. And like you said, it's direct too. So like you said, you're improving probably the experience.
Exactly. He built an award-winning health plan, so much so that the turnover in the hospitality industry is just atrocious. We're talking 50, 70% a year. His turnover at Rosen Hotels is in single digits because he took such good care of those employees.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah,
it's impressive.
It's just an incredible story. And so I'm sitting in these open enrollment meetings where the brokers are taking heat because the executives are pissed off, the employees are pissed off. And I'm wondering to myself, God, why aren't these brokers at least recommending some of the strategies and solutions that Rosen had pioneered decades ago? You don't even have to reinvent the wheel. He's already done a lot of this hard work for you.
Right.
And so I very naively thought, geez, if I just move to the brokerage side of the industry, I can scale those kinds of innovative solutions. I can probably help a lot of people, and I can probably make some money in the process. Now, that turned out to be completely false. and so it led me down some pretty...
You found out a bunch of stuff. What happened is you found out a bunch of stuff. Right, go ahead.
Exactly. So I went and worked for a national brokerage firm, built a book of business from scratch,
Wow.
managed to help some of those businesses, but there was always kind of this internal resistance about promoting and recommending these alternative forms of financing and procuring healthcare for employees. And I ultimately got fired for allegedly advocating too hard for our customers and being too hard on an insurance company who happened to pay them their biggest bonus each year.
Oh, wow.
And that's when the light bulb went off for me. That's the moment when I became radicalized, so to speak.
So, dangerous word to use these days, by the way.
It's
It's a tumultuous time, but when you're radicalized in this, that's what you want to be radicalized in, because it's phenomenal. And I'm going through some of the questions here. We didn't get a lot of chance because we kind of pulled this together all really kind of quick, just by happenstance. But we were talking about what's going out there, and I'm seeing like this thirst. Like, we get questions and all the time. People are interested and they come on because they like the subject, right? Makes sense.
Yeah.
But man, I speaking of radicalized, I see a lot of people going, "Holy cow! What's this about somebody ripping us off?" And they want to know some of the stories. The first one, Paula, I was talking to you about, I showed earlier. What's the number one mistake executives make when choosing their healthcare plan? And the thing is, I think the number one mistake that they make, kind of what you're alluding to, what we're getting into here, you don't even know about, because it's the brokers that are kind of working behind the curtains. Is that a kind of a good visualization?
Yeah, and it's not always, malice. It's not always intentional.
Okay, go on.
Yeah, so I've got a book coming out on this topic in November, because I just so many people don't understand how this industry works, that I really wanted to shine a light on this very specific aspect.
What's the name of the book, by the way? I know what it is, but what's the name of the book?
Yeah, so it's called Fixing Healthcare: How Executives Can Save Their People, Their Business, and the Economy.
Man, this is such an awesome subject. During while we're moving along, at one point, there's a private chat on the right side of your screen. If you look, you'll see comments, and I don't know what you'll see, actually, because I'm not a guest. But I know that you can't put in the comments. I can. I don't know why guests can't. Maybe if we get hostile with each other, you could start saying something bad about me in the comments or something. I don't know. I don't know why they do that. But what I can do is copy and paste from the private chat over into the comments, because I want to leave your contact information. Not right away, because I want it further down. We still got, I'm sure, we're at about, I don't know, 6, 8 questions right now.
Yeah, I see them pouring in. This is great.
Yeah. No, and these I told you earlier, I may interrupt you to get hover at a place for a moment or understand a little bit better. You're an expert, and now we're getting into this, so we're going to hear some terms that you're used to, and you're just part of your life, and you're going to throw something out, and I like to say I'm the safety net. So if I understand it, everybody else here will, for sure, because these are a bunch of smart son of a guns. If it isn't for them and guys like you with expert, we wouldn't have the show, because I wouldn't know what to say. I'd just be here drooling.
They're asking great questions.
They are asking awesome questions. That's why I'm saying I'm like blown away. So what's the number? Let's start with this nice one. Paul's got a couple of questions down lower, but what's the first mistake that executives make when they're choosing their healthcare coverage?
Yeah, so the first mistake is not necessarily understanding the role that brokers play. And I have a chapter on this in the book, in that the brokerage industry was developed to not help you maximize the return on your benefits investment. The brokerage industry was developed to sell health insurance products at the retail level. They were, before the minimum wage laws came into effect, and I think it was 1938, most health insurers had large in-house sales forces. And when those minimum wage laws went into effect, it posed a problem because, let's face it, like most sales forces, half of them don't really sell a lot. And so they didn't want to take on the financial risk of having to pay a minimum wage.
80-20 rule.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't want to have to take on the risk of paying a minimum wage to sales agents that weren't really selling. And so what they did is they flipped them into, they reclassified them as independent contractors, right? Which happens all the time. And you might have used independent contractors in your business.
100% did, yes.
Yeah.
A portion. I mean, you get, for me, it was different. You pull in a plumber for a job, or you do this, or you do that. You 1099 stuff for, like you said, independent contractors. Go ahead.
100%. And so what this did was it inadvertently allowed these independent sales folks to not only sell one insurer's products, but now they could sell multiple insurers' products. And at the time, that was good because it made the procurement process for employers easier, in that they could deal with one person who could come in with a bunch of proposals from different carriers and help match the right one. Right. And so that value proposition is pretty good. But the challenge is that brokers get paid by insurers and pharmacy benefit managers. And here's the thing. Some insurers and pharmacy benefit managers pay them more than others.
Yes, I've heard this. Okay, go. Yes, I want to get into some of this because this whole thing is BS. It's tough.
It is tough.
You're adding so much money to something that has a value, but then you're making it more than its value, cost more than its value for greed.
Well,
really.
Yeah. So because some carriers pay brokers more than others, it really undermines their ability to give you, the employer, unbiased advice. Right. And so the analogy that I use to describe the ludicrousy of this business, it's like, would you ever work with a CPA who got paid by the IRS?
No. Absolutely
not. Because you rely on that CPA to make sure that you only pay the taxes that you're supposed to pay and nothing more, right? They work for you.
My best interest, exactly. Kind of like our politicians. Sounds kind of like our politicians.
There are some interesting parallels.
They do, exactly. They do work for us, but no.
Not really.
Right.
Yeah, they're all right. They're getting paid on both sides of the transaction. That's a great example. And so you would never do that with your accountant. You would never work with an accountant who got paid by the IRS. That would be ludicrous. But when we're talking about a business's, what's often their second largest expense, their healthcare spend, that's exactly the situation that they're in. And it's not employers' fault. They just aren't aware of how the business actually works and where the revenue comes from. And that's exactly why I wrote the book, to educate them on how this landscape actually works so they can navigate it more effectively and make better purchasing decisions.
Interesting. So in that, so as you're talking, I think back, because of all the different things that we have to insure when you're an employer. You're not just insuring healthcare, which is a big part of it. That you're also insuring for accidents, you're insuring your business against things that occur. Or may happen to people, and that's healthcare and other things. All of those are brokers. And I know this is a big deal also in the investment, because when you said some pay higher than the others to the broker, there's all of this system going on that's just kind of sucking money away from the great middle class. Every time you turn around, and you have to do this stuff. It's not like you're paying extra for something and it's just something cool you want. You have to have these things, right?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, the Affordable Care Act is a bunch of good things. One of the bad things it did, and from my perspective, is it forces employers to offer qualified coverage to employees. We can go back. We don't need to go down that rabbit hole. But at the end of the day, your analogy.
Hold on. No, let's go. Let's dig a little in the rabbit hole. Let's get a little in that hole. We get a little dirty. What does that mean? What does that term you just said mean?
Okay, so the Affordable Care Act is the biggest.
I know what that is.
Okay.
Yep. I know what that is. But you said that they're forced to do what?
Yeah, it's called the employer mandate, and basically what it means is that essentially if you have over 50 full-time employees, you are mandated and required to offer what the government deems credible, affordable coverage to your employees. You're forced to buy this product for them.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So
go ahead.
So is there in your book, is there practical ways to go to recover yourself and not have to go down these rabbit holes?
Yes.
Let's get into the Obama thing too. So talk about that. Let's because there's some questions that will be leading into that. First one, which don't answer this yet, but can these savings be applied to companies who are under? And I thought it was 100 employees, but maybe it's 50, and maybe it's by state too on certain things, or maybe I'm thinking of something different. But there, I gave myself an out all the way around. Did you see how I did a rabbit hole there?
It goes deep.
That was that was the Alice in Wonderland rabbit hole, though. So let's go down the rabbit hole a little bit. Let's talk about Obamacare, and let's talk about how your book gives some practical steps, and then we'll be adding what I like to call color in between the layers of what you're talking about now. I can tell through these questions. So let's kind of go down that together right there, if you could.
Okay, so just to bottom line first, in the current state of things, U.S. employers, 25% of what U.S. employers spend on healthcare is being completely wasted. That's $325 billion a year.
I saw that.
If you break that down, if you break that down at the employee level, that's about $4,000 per employee per year in wasted profit. I mean, it's an astounding.
How is that wasted? What does that look like? What is wasted? I'm sure it's that they're just pulling it into their own pocket, you mean, or what? How is that weight? Because there's a number of things there's a lot of money that can be pulled out of this by fixing it, as you described and as you're getting into. But $4,000 a year, right? Is it right?
Yeah.
$4,000 per employee is wasted profit. So what's the waste, and what is that? Just because of the way the business works, just having to go through those extra things, or is there fraud, or is there something else in there?
Yes, great questions. There's fraud, waste, abuse, all the above. But it all stems from the fact that most employers don't get unbiased advice on how to manage their healthcare supply chain. Okay.
I don't think people even know about being able to get unbiased advice. I mean, I don't know. I mean, till today, right? I mean, till right now. So hey, do you have a time crunch? Do you have a hard stop at all?
I've got another recording at 2:00, but let's keep going.
2:00. Okay.
We got plenty of time.
Okay. Yeah, we got plenty of time. I was going to say we're going to keep you all afternoon just so you could be us. We'll keep you all to ourselves. So how does that how do we go and find this stuff out and then continue on? You're adding things to my interest here that I'm curious about.
Cool. So it's important to understand that hospitals created health insurers. They actually put up the seed money to create health insurance companies in the 1930s. Okay.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Health insurance didn't exist before then because, frankly, hospitals really couldn't solve it. They really couldn't cure anybody. They couldn't do a lot, right? Medical, they just weren't, that's not what they did. They didn't have the capabilities to do that. And so as medical advancement accelerated through the 1920s, hospitals had a problem. Their cost basis went up because they had to train doctors, nurses, sterilize hospitals, yada, yada, yada. And the problem was that many of their patients couldn't afford their services. I don't know if you ever watched that I think it's an HBO or Apple TV show called The Nick, about a hospital in New York in the year 1900. Fantastic show, so well done.
I'll check it out. Nick, N-I-C-K, Nick.
I think it's K-N-I-C-K.
Oh, so Nick, I get you. Okay, gotcha. I'll check it out.
It's awesome, but it really goes into, it's about a hospital in Lower Manhattan going through this evolution of medical advancements and dealing with trying to get paid and all of these things. And it's just fascinating. But anyway, so to solve for that problem, Baylor University Hospital in Dallas, Texas, said, what if we actually got a large employer to prepay for our services? And so what they did was they partnered with the Dallas Teachers Union and said, hey, listen, for 50 cents per employee per month, your teachers can come to our nice, clean hospital and deliver their babies. Cool. All right. And they did it. And it was a success. It stabilized the hospital's revenues, right? Because now they're on a subscription basis, right? It's a reoccurring revenue model. It was SaaS before SaaS was cool.
There is. Yeah, exactly. Right. That's the coolest model there is.
Yeah. So that was a success. And keep in mind, this is, of course, during the Great Depression. And so you had hospital executives from around the country looking at this experiment in Dallas. And they said, wow, how can we create our own plans, our own health plans, so that we can stabilize our revenues? And so what they did is they actually put up the seed money to create health plans in their own regions. And these became what dubbed Blue Cross plans.
Oh, so that's where the name comes out of, because that's who I belong to.
Yeah. So that original plan out of Dallas, Texas, became the first Blue Cross plan. That's how they started branding it in the year 1934. And by 1940, 14 other Blue Cross plans emerged throughout the country to help hospitals stabilize their revenues. And of course, help patients find a way to actually finance and pay for the services that they needed.
Right. Yeah. And the older you get, and just the food, there's all sorts of things that's tied into this, the food, drug administration, and, what's causing health, and on and on. So things are getting even more complicated, costs are going up more and more. So in your book, you're talking about, so by the time, so in the 40s, another, what'd you say, 14?
Yeah, by 1940, 14 Blue Cross plans had emerged in the marketplace, and employers were quietly enrolling. I think by that time, about 6 million Americans had enrolled in these health insurance products. Now, this all got accelerated because of World War II. So, and I'm kind of a history buff, so I love this stuff. And I think your audience might as well, because they're asking really good questions.
They are.
So because 16 million Americans volunteered to go fight the Nazis, we had a labor shortage in the United States. A massive labor. These are all working age people that went to go fight in Europe. And so that created a labor shortage in the United States. And of course, when you have a labor shortage, that creates rising wages and inflation. Right? And
True.
So I think it was in 42, the government passed what was called the Stabilization Act. And this is just amazing to think about. We think we live in like crazy times right now. We got nothing compared to what was going on then. The government.
You hear about that foreshadowing? That was a big foreshadowing right there. What you just said. Go ahead. I had to jump back on and say that.
Yeah, a little storytelling, but it's true. And so the government froze wages for working Americans in 1942. You couldn't negotiate a raise with your employer in 1942. Wherever you were at, you're stuck. Okay? I mean, that is like incredible. I mean, I think people would go nuts if that happened today.
That would not happen today.
It wouldn't
No
happen
way.
today.
No
Right.
way. No way. Not a chance.
Right. So,
rights.
oh, absolutely. Absolutely. People would go crazy.
Yeah.
And so what the union, the labor unions did was they said, okay, all right, we will, we're not going to fight you on this. I see that we're losing on this whole, frozen wages thing. But here's what we want. We want you to carve out employer contributions for retirement and health plans, i.e. benefits, out of compensation, so that these employer contributions towards these benefit plans are tax advantaged. Okay. And so this stroke of the pen really accelerated participation in benefits programs, in health insurance, retirement plans, et cetera, because now this is the only way that employers back in the 40s could compete for talent was through benefits.
Oh yeah. Okay. Okay.
So we're still living
under the same, that there's no evolution is what you're saying, is we're still living in that same structure today.
From a wartime policy from,
right.
from almost 100 years ago. And go ahead, you got a question.
What an interesting, not a question, but what an interesting way to put that. Because we talk about this all the time, especially now, and we're getting into some technology questions and stuff further down the road here. But what an interesting way to put that we haven't evolved out of a model that was created for a wartime issue 100 years ago. And we have, all of our systems have to evolve in order to keep up with society, because society's moving forward, our technologies, and now technology is really going to move it all forward fast. That's a whole nother show, which we do pretty regularly, but that's an interesting way you put that. So go on. I just wanted to sit on that for a moment, because you don't ever really think about this, because the first thing you think about is not evolving what you're doing, because you don't know any different. I love this history that you're talking about, because you're putting it in context, context. And that's perfect, man. I mean, go ahead with that. I just wanted to, I was just thinking of that when you said that. And then, so continue on, please, because this is, I'm getting I'm a curious person, and I know a little bit about a lot of things. I had people manage and tell me what they did. I don't mean it that way. We're a small company, but I knew a little bit about the insurance, this right here, health coverage and the insurance companies, that whole issue. And it's a big deal. But put the history in perspective, really it goes, whoa. So there is, I hope, moving forward, and especially folks like you actually moving forward. And it's a big push right now, I think, because there's different ones that are out there that are looking at new ways to insure, like self-insuring, and different ways to look at that. That's actually how Kaiser started. I think they were self-insuring off the Kaiser River. I forget what company it was. Anyway, so what you were talking about there, go on, please.
Yeah. So basically that wartime policy really accelerated participation in employer health plans, right? So it became commonplace. Yeah. And by 1960, there were 700 health insurers in the market. 700.
Wow.
Today, people think there are 5.
Yeah. That's bizarre. So what are there now?
Well, there are four or five dominant players, but
Right.
when you get into the partially self-funded arena, which, by the way, 60% of Americans are on partially self-funded plans, they're buying a little bit of reinsurance, right? The employer takes on the risk, but to cap their risk, the employer's risk, they buy a little sliver of reinsurance to cap their annual exposure. That's really the intent there. And so there are dozens.
What is that? What is that? I don't understand that. I don't understand what you just said. And so, is this a common thing of people reinsuring, or adding?
Yeah, about 60% of employees are on partially self-funded plans.
What does that look like?
Sure. I mean, yeah. So probably some of the people on this call are on partially self-funded plans. They might not know that, but basically,
well, that's what I'm thinking. I may not. I want to know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So anyone who, if you get your health coverage through your employer, there are lots of different financing mechanisms and procurement mechanisms that they can take advantage of. Most employers aren't aware of them, but so just to kind of level set, within any health plan, there are basically four foundational pieces of a health plan. You've got your reinsurance, which caps your employer's annual exposure. You've got your plan administrator.
Oh, yeah, I've seen it in the paperwork. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. You've got your pharmacy benefit manager, which we could talk for days about, your PBM, and you've got your network, which is basically just a contract that says, listen, here are the providers that accept our plan. We've already pre-negotiated the reimbursement for those providers, what we're going to pay them, what the plan pays them.
Wow. Okay. So I have been. I just didn't know it. That's why I said earlier, you're the expert. So there's things that just come naturally to you, and I'm like, okay, I know in this world especially, it's not my wheelhouse, so I'm gonna need to dig a little deeper.
Yeah, so, it's all good. It's all good. So I just mentioned all this because most employers don't realize that there are almost endless ways to build health plans. You can build your own bespoke program. And I'm not talking about copays, deductibles. All that stuff is like downstream. That's like almost irrelevant. But I'm talking about the vendor stack.
Interesting.
Which vendors do you use to help you finance and procure your plan? So really it's about the vendor stack. And so again, in the the present state of things.
No, I'm not going to let you go.
Okay, go ahead.
I was going to let you go, but I was thinking, do I really get what he's saying or do I not? I know what a vendor is, obviously. I know what a stack is, and I know what a vendor stack is, but what does that mean to me? So I'm going to go out and we'll get to the question about, first of all, is all this really the big, is it worth doing if you're under 50 employees? Don't answer that yet, but I do want to get to that pretty quick because it's part of the deal, right? Because there are a lot of micro companies, right? Even mom and pops, right? You talk about different people having different insurance coverages and so forth. Right now, obviously, employers, the larger you are, the bigger the savings, because you're not spending per person. And if there's two people, it's still important. But an employer, like you said, billions of dollars, right? And so what does a vendor stack mean? So I can literally go out and decide I want to use this vendor, that vendor, and that vendor. I mean, what does that look like? What you're talking about? What does that look like?
Sure. So let's say you still had your company and you hired my management consulting firm to run a procurement process. Okay. All right. The first thing we want to know is actually do some consulting. Who are you? What are you trying to? Yeah. Right. What's your perception?
Question.
Yeah. What are your perceptions of risk? What's your tolerance to change management? Right. I mean, a bunch of what's going on in your business? yada, yada, yada. Then from there, once we have a blueprint for who you are, what you're trying to achieve, what your objectives are, your business objectives, are you preparing for an exit, yada, yada, yada. Okay, now we've got a blueprint. Now let's find our subcontractors to help execute on your vision. We're going to run the procurement process to find all of these specific vendors to build your health plan. Okay. Now there are tons of them. There are tons and tons of them. There are hundreds of pharmacy benefit managers in the market that are fighting for market share against the big three.
Interesting. Are they as reliable, as good? They're going to probably be layers less expensive because of some of the things we'll be getting into, which we skimmed through on the beginning, which is basically bureaucracy, greed, all that. I assume they're going to be less. Each vendor is going to be less. But how do you find? I mean, you must have a book. Can you is this all the across the country? There's the big three, obviously, and then there's the smaller that are trying to get market share. Are they across? I mean, it doesn't matter whether you're in California, New York, Oklahoma, Chicago, where I was. None of that matters.
Generally, no. And this is one reason why someone like Mark Cuban is really bullish on this industry, is because this is why he started Mark Cuban's cost plus drug program company to challenge the big three PBMs. And
I did not know this. Go on about this.
This is great. I mean, and it's I got to say, it's so wonderful having someone with his platform getting really passionate about this topic, because he's got such a big megaphone. But he's not challenging them with technology or any clinical innovation. He's simply challenging them with trust and transparency.
That's a good thing. He's going to win that one.
Yeah, that's the big innovation: trust and transparency. Wow, we're actually disclose how our business works.
Wow. So this is for what does his company look like? So let's say we're going through and you're my consultant or the company's consultant, and we're going through these different vendors, and I assume it's going to look similar or basically the same on each one when you're analyzing. So we go out and we say, okay, we're gonna pick Mark Cuban's pharmacy company here, and broker. No, that's not. Is that the right word? Vendor, broker. What would it be the right word?
They're kind of like a
supplier.
Yeah, they're a supplier. They're a retail supplier of drugs. Yeah.
So how does that work? So right now, if I want to pick up my supply, I'm getting older, so it's a little more important and a little more active I don't know if I can imagine there's decades I've gone by without going to a pharmacy. Now I'm a little more I'm a little more of an active member of the local pharmacy, which is unfortunate. But what's that look like? So now I take my insurance card, or I give my name, and it is what it is, whatever that is. Same thing. I mean, do you have different cards, or do you have how does that insurance vendor, if there are all these separate ones, is there any inconvenience to it at all?
Yeah, so
because there's different ones, right? I mean, you understand why I'm asking the question?
Oh yeah, you're talking about what's the member experience like? Yeah, which is hugely important.
There you go.
Yeah, and there are dozens and dozens of ways to build plans with different vendors. So when we talk about health plan innovation, I like to think of this as through the lens of what I would call a maturity model. So just like companies have technology maturity models, as the company becomes more sophisticated over time, they're finding better ways to leverage technology and how they use it, and maybe they bring some of this stuff in-house. They start building their own tech stack, et cetera. They start building bespoke solutions. The same thing is true with health plans. And so as your organization becomes more sophisticated over time, you're going to start optimizing your program to reduce costs and improve value for stakeholders. And so in other words, you're continuously getting a higher return on your benefits investment. And so as you move through these different maturity models, you're going to start really building more and more bespoke solutions for yourself. And so, Harris Rosen from Rosen Hotels, Osceola Schools here in Orlando, Florida, these are companies that have saved millions and millions of dollars because they've really been aggressive about maximizing the return on their investment, building out bespoke solutions that fit their unique needs. And so, there's not a one size fits all solution for anything. There's millions of solutions out there. Some of them are a fit for somebody somewhere, but none of them are a fit for everybody everywhere. It just doesn't work that way.
True.
But I want to make sure we give your audience some tangible takeaways, because I can, we can go down lots of rabbit holes and make this really complicated. And I don't want to do that.
Yeah, no.
The biggest, so
I'll pass out. I literally will pass out.
I might too.
It'll be like, and then you got to finish the show, dude. You're going to have to close it out. It'll just run by itself. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll have to answer all these questions myself.
Yeah.
But so in the 6-step healthcare transformation roadmap that I outlined in the book, the first and most critical step is getting unbiased advice. Because we're just having a quick conversation about this stuff, and we're quickly seeing that, like, wow, this can get pretty complicated. There's a lot of different things to really consider. And so if you don't have someone working for you, you're going to end up being a victim of the system. Okay. You need to get unbiased advice. And so, relying on supply side vendors to help you manage your supply chain, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. So unbiased advice unlocks everything else downstream from there. So how do you do that? What are the practical ways that you do that as an employer? Okay, so if you let's say you've got a business with over 1,000 employees, I would highly encourage you to start bringing more benefits expertise in-house, right? Just like you bring, legal services in-house, accounting services in-house, start hiring benefits professionals who really know what the hell they're doing. Bring them in-house so that they work for you. They don't have conflicts of interest. You don't have the fox guarding your hen house. So, and that's something that Mark Cuban's been advocating for as well. He calls, hey, he's like going around the country telling large businesses, hire a chief benefits officer. The return on investment can be enormous. I mean, just like it can be 3 to 1, it can be 40 to 1, it could be 100 to 1. So that's one thing. But it sounds like we've got some smaller business owners and executives.
Yeah, I'm glad you jumped that in, because I've been Jason here has got a really good question, and I was kind of leaning into this a little bit earlier, in that the benefits are still. Is it worth doing if you're a 50 employee or under 50 employee, or say 20 employee person? Where is that? And there's some ROI coming up here in a minute.
Yeah.
Where does that look? Where does that? Because obviously at 15 people, you're not going to hire a benefits manager, right? Yeah. You're whoever's managing that part of that. Your HR is typically that next step towards that. If you're having an HR manager, then that would be somebody that would typically handle it. And then the next step would be what you're talking about here, right?
Yeah. So for smaller businesses, those with less than 1,000 employees, you really need to work with a management consulting firm that specializes in healthcare financing and procurement. And ideally, if you can find them, you want to work with one that embraces and serves as a fiduciary to you in their contract. I mean, that is a legal term. It's a legal relationship that they work for you. Their job is to look out for your best interests. Okay. And this is like a novel idea in this business. It really shouldn't be. I am working to make it commonplace and a best practice because it's so powerful. The idea of getting unbiased advice. So So really, there's a bunch of management consulting firms that are actually, frankly, quite a bit like mine, that have emerged in the market over the past 10 years. Lots of them have worked on various sides of the industry, just as I have. They've seen
Correct.
and experienced and lived the negative impact of these misaligned incentives that have historically plagued the industry. And they said, this is ridiculous. We can't go on like this. We can't serve, we're getting financially penalized for helping our clients achieve their objectives. That's stupid. Let's do it a different way. So I would seek them out. And if you go to the Validation Institute's website, and full disclosure, I'm a senior advisor there in Boston. But they have a list of them on their website, and they're all kind of different, but you can find one that fits your needs.
Exactly. And basically at that point, what you're doing, so 1,000 employees and above, we've talked about that. Basically, this is the same thing for the small guy, but the 1099, the contract.
Yes.
That position. It's a consulting thing, but it's that position, right?
Yes. And here's the thing, though, when you start talking about consultants, people get scared. They think, wow, this is going to be really expensive. This is going to be an upfront financial risk for me, right? An upfront investment.
Correct.
Here's the thing. When you replace your broker with a fiduciary-based management consulting firm, what they do during the procurement process is they tell the carriers to strip out all the commissions out of the products, okay? And what these fiduciary firms do, they'll instead of having commissions and getting paid by the carriers and the vendors, they charge the employer a flat fee, okay? And this way they work for you, right? Whoever pays you, that's who you work for, okay?
True.
So this is really critical. It sounds so trivial, but it's like, no, it's
How
like.
do you know? How do you know that they stripped out the commissions? Like, where in the documentation it showed? I mean,
Oh yeah.
There's legal documents that have to support that fiduciary comment or that fiduciary. In other words, you're gonna pay me. No, hold on. How am I saying that? I'm gonna pay you a flat fee.
Yeah.
And they strip out all the commissions, but how do you know that?
Yeah.
How do I know?
Yeah.
How do I know?
So in the proposals from insurance companies, it will say typically at the bottom of the proposal if there's commissions included in the proposal, in the rates. Okay.
Gotcha.
Now
right.
Here's another thing, because I think we have a bunch of smaller businesses here online.
We do.
Most of you don't even have a contract with your broker. And there's a very good reason for that. And that's because they don't work for you. Okay. That's why you don't have a contract.
True.
But the problem with that is that you don't know what they actually do, how much they get paid, and by who. Okay. So it really gets challenging because you don't know what they actually, what's their scope of service? What do you guys actually do? It's not your fault, but that's the scenario so many businesses find themselves in.
And it's crazy because you're bringing back so many bad memories. I mean, that's always been way overly expensive to me, and it never seemed like we had a lot of choice. And I think we were lazy on it and just kept with the same agent. And I don't know why I did air quotes in that, but the same agent. So this is really very fascinating. This is probably as good as the music part of our discussion.
I have to switch it up. I got to go back and forth because you
got to. Hey, are you close enough to smack on your drum? Are you close?
It's actually, we just had a bunch of windows installed in that room, and I had to put the drums kind of off in the corner, so they're not.
Oh,
set
okay.
up. They're there, but they're not set up.
All right.
But otherwise, I'd happily come back and play for you guys.
All right.
But yeah,
so let's talk about ROI and kind of get into some of the number stuff. Let's blossom on the advantage to me. Why are we listening to you?
Sure.
Let's start here with Cody. Cody, great question. Jason, I think we got you taken care of, and Paula, of course, we'll be back with you in a second. But Cody, thank you very much. How do you measure the ROI? I mean, other than the fact your rates go down, I mean, I assume the employee as well. whatever their participation in it. We used to do 80, we used to pay 80% because people traveled, you had to get the premium, because you had to be able to go outside of plan. If somebody gets hurt, while they're in Pennsylvania, you can't just do the cheapest plan. So I hate it. Sure.
I feel your pain, and listen, we deal with it all the time with business owners and executives. They're confused, they're frustrated because they don't have clarity.
Bam. Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but if I don't understand something, it pisses me off.
Yes, very true. It's very true. And the problem is it's the whole, like you're talking about, except it sounds like this may, and you know what? There's a hell of a lot of great questions about, making that switch, making that change, doing the vendor stack, let's call it. And so let's get on with Cody here. How do you, other than what I just said, that everything goes down, and I assume it goes down for the employer as well as the employee, and you get better structured products that you as the employee, well, of course you got to make the decision, but are making that decision that, hey, for us, this is the best stack, right?
Yeah, great, all great questions. So let's just back up for a second. So the reason I was telling you about carving commissions out of products during the procurement process is that I just don't want to scare people off to think that, switching to a management consulting firm, replacing our broker with a management consulting firm is going to cost us a lot of upfront money. Because the reality is that when they carve out those commissions out of the products, oftentimes the fee that the management consulting firm is charging you is about what the commissions are. So it basically, in many cases, it just about nets out. It might be a little bit more, it might be a little bit less, it might be about the same. So it really just nets out. It doesn't do anything, right? So basically, you can. The point is that you can start getting unbiased advice without it even costing you anything more. You can have someone working.
Well, now how is that though? Because I mean, let's say you and I start next week. Okay. Yeah. We're going to have our first sit down, and we're now, you're onboarding me, us, the company, because we have a deal. We have whatever that fee is. We're doing the thing. It's going to take I would imagine a minimum of a month to change over, because we're going to sit down today, right, or whatever that day is, and then it's going to take a day-ish or two or whatever, and you got to figure, okay, what makes the most sense? You're going to be checking things out. Meanwhile, you're on contract, so you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. But at the same time, we're still paying insurance. And I assume it takes about a month or so. But so you're going to pay a little bit. You're going to pay one time, maybe double. Then after that, not. Is that kind of, because I'm leaning into the ROI here thing.
Yeah, no, I love it. And these are all great questions. In fact, I have a whole chapter on this in the book, is how making the switch, right? How do you actually make that transition?
Yeah, making the switch, right.
Yeah, so according to the fiduciary guidelines that, the Validation Institute created, the best practice is that, okay, you want to switch from a broker to a management consulting firm outside of your renewal period. Let's talk about the timing of it first, right? You don't want to do this.
The next thing I was going to talk about, because that's all confusing as hell to me too. Go ahead.
Oh yeah.
Outside of the renewal period. Yep.
Yes, you don't want to remodel your kitchen the weekend before Thanksgiving. You don't want to do that.
Okay. Yeah.
So you want to make this switch preferably several months before your renewal period. So, think about 6 months before your effective date, about 6 months before your effective date. And so you want to do that so that your new firm has time to actually go through their formal consulting process of understanding you, right? I mean, prescription before or diagnosis before prescription is malpractice. Right. So I don't know, Rod, I have no idea what's right for you. As far as products goes, I really don't know. I mean, I have some general ideas, but I can't say with any absolute certainty what products or financing mechanisms are actually best for you. I don't know you, right? I don't know your risk, your perceptions of risk, your tolerance for change management, your business objectives. I don't know any of that stuff. So I try, we go to it eyes wide open. But the point is that you need some time to allow your firm to get to know you and understand you. So yeah, to answer your question, how do you do this? So you're not paying twice during that initial transition period. Yes. So the best practices are, so during the transition period. So what I mean, like, let's say you start with a management consulting firm 6 months before your effective date. During that first 6 months, your management consulting firm is allowed to collect the commissions that your broker was getting paid. And that allows you to not, as an employer, to not have to
hold
pay
on.
them.
Whoa.
Yeah.
We gotta go back. First of all, okay, I get it. You're connected to dot there. But then you also, something I was going to ask before, and actually something somebody is going to ask down below.
Yeah.
I'm going to steal their thunder. I'm sorry. I'll give it to you when we get to you again. But when this starts, so we're working together. We just went through the stuff. Now I'm going to turn around and tell my broker that talk to you, Dr. Donovan. I mean, how is that going to? I would assume the broker is going, okay, well, here, I'm out the door. I mean, is it a very difficult or easy thing to do?
Well,
we haven't gotten the ROI yet, but when you say you're going to be taking the commissions from the broker, is that correct?
Yeah. So during the transition period, so let's say if you hire your firm 6 months before your effective date, for those 6 months, if the broker is appointed with the carriers and the products that you have in place, if they're appointed with them, if they're allowed to service and collect those commissions, they have to be appointed with them, with the carrier, right? Then the carrier can pay the firm during the transition period. Okay, that's allowed. And that's allowed so that you, as the employer, don't have to pay two people at once, right? So as far, and here's another fly in the ointment here, but you can hire so here's a process that we developed, a framework, if you will. It's called APIM, Assess, Procure, Implement, Manage. These are different buckets of services that employers need to manage a benefits program: consulting, procurement, implementation, and management services. These are different buckets of services. If you're an employer that you love your broker, yada yada yada, but you want to fulfill your fiduciary responsibility, you want to help save money, you can keep your broker and have them do the implementation and the management, right? You can keep your broker and have them do that. And you could hire a management consulting firm to do consulting and procurement on your behalf. You can do that.
Oh my God. Wow. Okay. That's interesting.
Now, I will say, though, if you do that, you're going to have an upfront investment, because you're going to have to pay the management consulting firm outside of
both.
Yes. Twice. Yeah. So there is an upfront investment there, but if you're a big enough employer, depending on your situation, the management consulting firm should absolutely be able to give you recommendations, the blueprint, and the vendors that deliver insane ROI, okay, on that initial investment. So that's one way to do it. Most employers don't do that. It's too complicated for them. They'll just say, well, you just, replace our broker, right?
So, yeah, and that makes the most sense. But if you didn't, and I don't know why you wouldn't, but if you didn't, you'd have the broker being the management part of it. So would they still be collecting the commissions, or are you paying them a percentage of what you were paying before? Yeah. Or are you paying them separately, hey, broker Don, broker Jamie, whatever. I have my buddy here now. Donovan's my man. We're doing this, and I want you to do just this and this. Are you paying double the way you were? Are you paying double what you would have, or is it a percentage of a little bit more?
Yeah. So and I don't think most small businesses would ever want to do this, but
I don't think they know which chance in hell.
It's too complicated.
But I had to ask. Yeah, it's complicated as hell.
But if you're going to divide the scope of service between a broker and a management consulting firm, yes, you're going to, you could say, okay, listen, broker, since you're not doing consulting or procurement services for us anymore, we're having the management consulting firm do that. We're going to pay you, we're going to negotiate a lower commission for you, right? Okay. And you can do that.
And that's something you would handle.
Um,
Or that's something I would, okay, so it's just way too I mean, these are things you don't even think about it. Let's let it die. Let's let this horse.
Yeah, that's kind of the exception to the rule. Let's focus on the rule itself. So let's say,
Let's go back to the rule.
Yeah. So you're replacing your broker with a management consulting firm. And yes, for the transition period, let's say it's 6 months, so that you don't have to pay your new firm an additional fee to what you're already paying in commissions. Just have the firm collect the commissions that we're getting paid to the broker. And that's usually fine. I think most management consulting firms would be fine with that, because it's usually about what their fees.
Is that how it works? I mean, that's literally that. So literally, you could do it like you said.
Yeah.
That I took this one conversation. I've taken it out now. 30 minutes or so. But you said that you can literally do this without any cost, out of pocket, that you aren't already paying, out of pocket cost for any employer.
Yeah, for without an initial investment on your behalf, right? Exactly. In many cases, I mean, of course, it's going to depend on what the fee that the firm is charging, but just generally speaking, it's about what the broker is getting paid in commissions anyway. So it's not really going to make any material difference.
So when you say collect the commissions, you and I are sitting down. Is it very common to say, okay, you're now under contract. I'm not going to pay you a fee. You're going to take the commissions that my broker was receiving, and that will be your fee.
Yeah, for the transition period. But once okay,
go ahead. Now now I get it more. Okay, for that 6 months, it's not going to cost you anything other than what you're already paying.
Exactly. So and then so during your renewal phase, when the firm is running their procurement process, they're giving you visibility to the entire marketplace of strategy solutions. You're probably going to see a lot of new stuff you've never seen before. Might make your head explode. Hopefully, they'll just show you the things that you actually need to see. But they're really curating the marketplace on your behalf. That's a big part of the value prop. And so, but yes, during that procurement process, they're getting rid of all the commissions out of the products, and then they're just going to charge you their fee, whatever that is. Okay, so let's say it averages out. There's actually no difference, right, to you. But now you're getting unbiased advice, because now, as a management consulting firm, I don't have to care that Cigna pays better than United Healthcare, which I'm not even saying that they do, but I'm just using an example. I don't care. Yeah. It's not going to taint my recommendations to you. That's the whole point of this, is that these firms want to give employers unbiased advice. They don't want to have someone influencing the recommendations that they give to employers, right? And so that's the whole reason behind the business model. So, but let's talk about return on investment. So, I'll just use my own firm, for example. Our average customer, going back to 2018, has saved $1,856 per employee per year compared to what they would have spent using a broker. Okay, that's what our average customer has done. Our worst performing clients has saved about $1,300 per employee per year, and our best performing customers have saved north of $4,000 per employee per year. And again, mind you, this is all with coverage as good or better in most cases.
That is impressive as hell. Those are big numbers. I mean, you're talking about Doge, right?
Yes.
The term. Are you happy about Doge?
I'm not happy the way that it ended up. I was very happy that the organization, got off the ground, and I was really happy to have someone as smart as Elon running it. But I'm not happy with the way it ended up.
Yeah, it's too bad because what you're talking about here is there's I talk about there's a point in time where this country, this world, we could have a utopia on Earth because AI is coming, the lowering of costs, things that, the cost of living is going to be going down. Now we have to be on top of that. Otherwise AI won't necessarily benefit the great American class. It'll be worked other ways. There's a whole lot of stuff to talk about that, but it's funny because Now here we are on another industry and looking at how much, again, we're paying. If we could be saving $4,000, $1,000, $1,300, $4,000, which is originally what you said employers waste, are overcharged, let's say,
overpay,
per employee, overpay per employee. So now if those are coming down, Doge, I mean, my God. I don't know, politics in this world.
Huge opportunities. But I love your analogy, and that's not that you even said it, but I'll say it for you. We're Doge and health plans. I mean,
yes,
and
exactly.
We're doing this for the benefit of stakeholders, for employees and shareholders and owners.
Yeah.
Because there's so much freaking waste in the system. It's not sustainable. Either we change structurally or we don't, and we end up with really big problems. And I'm trying to help give employers a path out of this so that we can actually see the benefit, the results that we want to see. People, people in population health circles talk about social determinants of health all the time. SDOH is the jargon, right? One of the biggest social determinants of health is financial stability. Can you afford to pay your bills? And if you can't do that, your life sucks, right? I've been there. Yeah. Trust me, as a musician, I've been there. I know.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, absolutely. You were a musician. You were a musician until you were 30. So you know that hardcore as an adult.
I've lived that life. I've got the scars to prove it. All right. And I came from a pretty modest background. I'm blessed. I'm absolutely blessed. We're white guys born in America in the 20th century. I got nothing to complain about. But we need to get our financial house in order as a country. Healthcare is 20% of GDP. It's the fastest growing financial risk on our national P&L, if you will. And it's the fastest growing financial risk on most corporate P&Ls. We got to stop it.
Okay, that was really poorly timed. I apologize about that. I was trying to get to the thing and you were just finishing it. I thought you were building. So, are self-funded plans always the best option for employees or say employers? But I also want to say, does it make any difference to the employees?
It can make a huge. So
I know it's the best. Whether they do it or not is one thing, but it is the best thing every single time. For Maria, thank you for this question. It is the best thing, no matter what. It's the best thing for an employer, right? Is it always the best thing for the employee? Both.
So here's the thing. There's so much waste in the system that you can have your cake and eat it too. Okay.
Ooh, love that. So, I'm getting hungry now. Damn it. All right, go ahead.
So self-funding, when most people say self-funded, what they actually mean is partially self-funded. Like even companies like Disney, as big as Disney, they will buy a little bit of reinsurance to cap their annual exposure so that the CFO can actually sleep at night. And that makes sense. But what self-funding does is or partially self-funding, it gives you the opportunity to really start seeing your supply chain. How much are you paying for hospitalizations, surgeries, labs, imaging, and drugs? And then once you see it, now you can start actually managing it. And that's a huge thing. Okay. So it puts you in a position where you can actually start managing your supply chain. Now, I will say though, I'm going to keep going for 1 second. Most businesses that self-fund right now don't take advantage of this whatsoever. They self-fund, but they use the same vendors that they were using when they were fully insured. And those vendors their financial interests are diametrically opposed to yours in many cases. And so it actually does nothing. It does absolutely nothing. And so they're kind of missing the whole opportunity because, again, they're not getting unbiased advice on how to maximize the return on their investment. Rod, this has been amazing. I would love to come back and keep talking to you about any of these things. Unfortunately, I got to run to another podcast.
Okay.
In a minute here.
Can you then let's because one thing I don't want to do is I don't want to miss these questions. Can we do a 3-minute bullet on anything that we get here? All right, real quick. This is like speed dating. Jack, what role does technology play in fixing healthcare costs?
I mean, way down the supply chain, it can really help, but there is much lower hanging fruit just by getting unbiased advice way further up the supply chain, because that influences everything else.
Okay, a lot of people in this thing talk about the future stuff. I'm going to go back to this. This is what I was talking about before. John Morris, how do you start the conversation with your broker without conflict? That's why I asked that question. John, I got to give you the credit for it. So back to it though. Basically, there should be no conflict because, right? I mean, right?
Well, listen. Actually, the federal government requires that you understand how your broker gets paid. It's same thing that you're required to do on the retirement side of the house through what's called a 408 disclosure form. Ask them for a 408 disclosure form. I want to know exactly who pays you, how much, and why.
Gotcha. All right. So there would be no conflict because that would be illegal for them to be upset about that, right? How many
the laws on your side? You are required to know. Starting January 1st, 2022, you are required to know as an employer, and it's shocking. I mean, I talked to a CFO of a 50,000 life group a couple weeks ago. She had no idea that Aon gets huge kickbacks and bonuses from PBMs and carriers. She had no idea.
Wow, that's crazy. How many executives actually know about this $300 billion problem? Nobody,
Very
right?
few. The insurance industry has been masterful in lowering expectations amongst employers to their financial benefits. Stop letting them lower your expectations.
Gotcha. Jason, thank you for the comment. Eye-opening conversation. And so I think hey, can you type in will you have time to type in real quick your contact information? How fast can a company see results after implementing these ideas?
Well, results for executives are often clarity. Like the first result you want is clarity, right? To actually stop being frustrated because now you actually know what's going on. So you can get those kinds of results very quickly, and you can get a roadmap built out pretty quickly. So that's a big deal because otherwise we're just throwing things against the wall and hoping that they stick. So I would categorize that as success, a short-term win. But yes, how often? I mean, it's going to take. Unfortunately, it takes about 6 months before you start to see the results of what you're doing.
Of course, but like you said, you start seeing exactly what's happening right away. John,
it's like going to the gym. Like you have a gym plan. Oh, I have a workout routine now, and now I can do it.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for that, Chell. By the way, she's on the show quite often. John, what's the fastest win a company can achieve using this framework?
Yeah.
So the last question after that.
Yeah. After you get unbiased advice, the lowest hanging fruit as far as your healthcare supply chain goes is swapping out your pharmacy benefit manager. We helped a 10,000 life teachers union save $3.6 million on prescription drugs a couple of years ago just by saying, listen, you need a new pharmacy benefit manager. You're working with one of the worst ones. You don't even know it. Stop doing that. Get a better one.
Wow. Jason said earlier is my mind is just like going nuts. What's the first step for companies who never reviewed their plan? That sounds like me. Jeffrey, thank you.
First step isn't to review your plan. Well, I mean, you should review your plan, but you're not going to know what any of that jargon means, most likely, because you're not an expert in this stuff, right? So you need to get unbiased advice. Ask your broker, and if you're not sure about that, what you're doing right now with your broker, ask them for a 408 disclosure that actually says who pays them, how much, and why.
408 disclosure.
Yeah, I saw one from Brown & Brown the other day that says, oh yeah, by the way, we also may get loan lines of credit and loans from insurance carriers from time to time.
Oh, really? Are you serious?
I am 100% serious. I just threw it in the book last minute because I was like, wow, this is amazing. I thought it's actually worse than I thought.
Give me your email address real quick, my friend.
Yeah, it's
I know
Donovan,
it, but
Donovan at healthcompassconsulting.com, DONOVAN. And you can always just go to my website. It's donovanpyle.com or fixinghealthcare.com. Fixinghealthcare.com. Just got off the ground floor and it's up and live right now. So anyway, the book's coming out in November. I would love to come back and talk to you guys again.
All right, you got it, brother. I am typing in fixinghealthcare.com. Make sure it's right, and then get the hell off my stage, would you? Is that right?
Wouldn't it be the first time I've been
No, I misspelled the in there, didn't I? CARE. But is the rest of it right?
Healthcompassconsulting.com, fixinghealthcare.com.
No,
Yeah, I got to go.
Healthcare.com. All right, see you, bro. Have a
Take
good
care.
one.
Bye.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Great show. All right, so there it is. Hi, how you doing? My mind is scrambled right now. Folks, was that not the most I mean, I've always hated healthcare coverages. I've always hated that side of the business. And when I say hate, I just didn't like having to do it. You know, the needing that as part of the daily grind of my life, meaning the business itself back in the day. And hopefully at some point, same thing here, getting back to a point where, you know, we should be growing at some point here. You know, we're Insights and Straight Talk. My name's Rod Duff. I'm your host. You know, I founded this. We're at the library, the public library here. I'm going to send some pictures a little bit later and do some little social media stuff, and you'll see beautiful brick. I mean, the building was built in the 1800s. A lot of the buildings around here were built in the 1800s. I'm just getting some information about what we're doing here, and you know, getting some of the information about what's going on in the local area. You can see some of the things here that we're talking about. I'll be getting into some of these discussions in great detail. Just want to see if I have that right. In June 1936, a fire broke out, causing $15,000. Imagine how much that is in 1936. Repaired in 3 weeks and reopened on August 1937 for a total cost of $39,428. This is an amazing part of the country that I live in now. There's been amazing people. Somebody I mentioned to you a couple of days ago. 2 days ago. Let's just call her Ms. T. And wonderful person. Really, step after step, person after person. There's a different built here. There's a different energy. There's a different way that the people are built. And it's fascinating how you can slow down, you can look at beauty, you can have lower costs. I mean, the things that are available to us in the middle class are just each day blow my mind because they're revealed, you know. And come back, share and like the shows. Come on and subscribe. We're going to be here. We've got shows coming up tomorrow. We're going to be broadcasting here, right here from the public library in Mangum, Oklahoma. As I said, Margaret Carter was somebody who really did a lot for this. And I'll get into some of the history. But she did a lot for this community, for this, so an entire. I mean, this building is phenomenal. It looks like a castle. Look on my. I don't have anything. Maybe I'll put it up in one of the. You know, I have my camera for here. I'll blow your guys' heads off right now. Okay, let's go back to one. So I'll put something on there with a little bit of history of this library. By the way, our sponsor for the show. I'm very proud to announce the sponsorship program, and you know, it just keeps the lights on and gives us the ability to start working with the teenagers and parents and on and on and on. The Regeneration School program. That is something that's very exciting. I should say project. The Talk Around the Table program, and that being empowering teens. we're starting off here in Mangum. We're also going to go all through Greer County. And that's it, man. I'm your host, and I'm out.
Before you leave, if you'd like to watch another one of the podcasts, click the first link in the description. We love having you here, and we appreciate all your support.
And with that, producer Barbie and I are out.